We have another AI episode here. There's so much happening in the world of AI that I often wonder, are humans making AI smarter or AI smart enough to make humans make it better? You all must have heard about large language models, small language models. Now there's spatial foundation models. Yeah, it sounds like another 3D gimmick, but stay with me a bit longer. This isn't your typical VR demo or another flashy tech showcase. We are talking about AI that understands the world the way humans do, in three dimensions, with physics, with depth and context. So, what are spatial foundation models or SFMs? Think about how current AI works. ChatGPT understands language, DALI creates images, and video generators make clips. But here's the thing, they're all fundamentally flat. They think in pixels, in words, in 2D representation of our world. SFMs are taking that same generative power and applying it to entire three dimensional worlds. A company called SpAItial, created by Matthias Neissner, the man behind Synthesia, has created their own SFMs. It's spatial with AI in the middle. Spatial, spatial. I don't know if that is correct pronunciation. What is the correct pronunciation? So they just announced they are pioneering this technology and their approach is quite fascinating. Instead of generating images pixel by pixel, their systems operate natively on 3D structures. They capture geometry, materials, and even physics from the get go. You can give them a single photo of a room and they'll generate a complete explorable 3D environment that you can walk through virtually. It's very different from the traditional 3D modeling and animation that you may have encountered in movies or video games before. Traditional 3D creation has always been incredibly labor intensive. Teams of skilled artists spend months, sometimes years, manually crafting every surface, every texture, every light source. Building complex 3D environments, vertex by vertex, pixel by pixel. SFMs flip this entire approach on its head. These AI systems understand how things relate to each other in space, their physical characteristics, and how they fit together naturally rather than just seeing individual 3D objects or still pictures. They are not just generating geometry, they're creating worlds that understand physics, lighting, and how objects should behave when you interact with them. Spatial plans to build SFMs that are able to generate photorealistic interactive 3D environments from simple text prompts or even single images. However, they are not the only ones in this 3D space, pun intended. There are many companies that are developing their own frameworks and models. World Labs, started by Fei-Fei Li, is developing large world models or LWMs with spatial intelligence that can understand, create, and interact with the world around you in three dimensions. I talked about their cutting edge tech in an earlier episode. I'll drop a link in the description. Tencent just released something called Hunyuan World Voyager and it's pretty incredible. Their approach is slightly different but equally mind bending. They've created what they call a world consistent video diffusion model. Essentially, you give it a single image and tell it how you want to move through that space, like fly forward and then turn left, and it generates a coherent video of that journey. Voyager doesn't just make pretty looking videos, it actually builds a 3D understanding of the space as it goes, creating what they call a world cache. essentially a memory of the 3D geometry it's discovered. So, if you circle back to where you started, everything lines up perfectly. No weird warping or inconsistencies. Then there is Descartes that has a platform called Oasis which focuses on making instant interactive virtual worlds from multiple sources for generative AI experiences. ODC's LWM called Explorer converts 2D images into highly photorealistic 3D virtual worlds for use in content creation, film production, and gaming. Legend AI creates geospatial AI tools to help developers easily use and understand information about the Earth. It does this by building its core models based on geographic locations and their relationships. Then you've got companies like Meta working on what they call digital twins and 3D asset generation. Google DeepMind has been pushing generative 3D efforts in their shopping experiences for a while. No wonder that the gaming industry is paying attention to SFMs or LWMs. It will allow them to describe a level in words and having the AI build the entire playable environment. It's impressive work that these companies are doing with AI. But most of these approaches have been struggling with what is known as long range spatial inconsistency. In simple words, the AI might understand what's right in front of it, but as soon as you move around, things start falling apart. SpAItial and Voyager seem to have cracked this particular nut. Like I said before, it's truly amazing what these guys are doing with SFMs. But what's any of this got to do with marketing? Let's start with today, or rather the very near future, because some of these applications are literally months away from being accessible. We already know that there are multiple AR based apps being used by brands like IKEA to showcase products in their customers' home setting. But what about customers who are getting a new house built? How do they visualize? SFMs can solve that problem. A brand can give them one image of your product and instantly generate a full 3D experience. They can walk around it, see how it fits in the space, understand its scale. We are not talking about expensive 3D modeling. We are talking about AI that can create this from a single photo. Real estate industry could benefit the most from such tech. They don't even need to wait for a real photo of a real room. They can take a 3D visualization image of a living room and generate an entire walkthrough experience. Potential buyers could explore properties from anywhere in the world, getting a genuine sense of space and flow. And what's most interesting is that AI can even generate variations. You want to see how a room would look like with different furniture? Done. Trade shows and experiential marketing could take it to another level. Instead of building expensive physical installations, you could create immersive 3D experiences that people can explore on their phones or VR headsets. Launch events could become a spatial experience that customers can revisit anytime. Maybe Apple and Samsung start doing it first. Who knows? New product development could become extremely efficient. Currently, creating 3D product visualizations is expensive and time consuming. With spatial foundation models, you could generate thousands of product experiences from simple photos. And B2B marketers, this one's for you. Complex industrial products, software interfaces, architectural plans, all of these could become immersive, explorable experiences that help customers truly understand what you're selling. Let's take this a bit further. I know it's going to be a bit sci fi, but why not? SFMs could fundamentally shift how humans interact with digital information. The media that we have been consuming so far on TV, movie theaters, laptops, tablets, and mobile phones was all about cramming 3D worlds into flat screens. Yes, there are 3D or 4D or whatever D formats, but they cater to a small audience mainly in gaming, select cinema, and immersive experiences. Spatial foundation models could bridge the gap between content and how humans actually think and perceive. I'll start with the medium you are currently listening or watching this episode on: internet. Imagine if every website, every digital experience existed in 3D space. Not gimmicky 3D, but meaningful spatial organization. Your email inbox could be a room where important messages are literally front and center and archive items fade into the background. Your project management tool could be a workspace where tasks have actual spatial relationships. Sort of like Vision OS and possibly without expensive headsets. Google's Gemini Live has early stage capabilities similar to that of SFMs. Instead of chatbots that understand language, we could have AI assistants that understand space. Help me arrange this room becomes a conversation where the AI actually sees and understands your physical space and not just responds to keywords. SFMs could democratize 3D content creation, which could boost the creator economy. Instead of needing expensive software and years of training, anyone could create immersive spatial experiences from single description or photos. Retail and online commerce could be the biggest beneficiaries too. SFMs might make a strong business case for not relying on traditional product photography. Why show customers flat images when you can let them explore products in full 3D from every angle in any environment they choose? An interesting perspective in the SFM dimension is that it could make AR even more relevant. Right now, AR is pretty clunky. When you use an AR app on your phone to place a virtual couch in your living room, the app is essentially just overlaying a 2D image onto your camera feed. It doesn't really understand your space. It's just estimating where surfaces are and places the virtual object which looks somewhat convincing. When AR is powered by SFMs, it can get contextual understanding of a 3D space, interrelationships between various objects in that space, and then seamlessly place the desired object within that space. As exciting this imaginary multi-dimensional world of SFMs is, it comes with its own challenges. Just like every revolutionary tech out there, computing power is the first one that comes to my mind. These models are absolutely hungry for computing power. We are talking about massive GPU memory that's not exactly something you can run on your laptop. This creates a barrier to entry that could limit adoption, at least initially. Training any form of AI requires huge amount of spatial data. Unlike text or images, good 3D training data is much harder to come by. Companies like Voyager had to create their own data processing pipelines just to get enough training material. Then there's the issue of falling into the uncanny valley. When something looks almost real but not quite, it becomes creepy rather than convincing. Early spatial foundation models are likely to hit this hard. Users might prefer obviously artificial 2D content over almost but not quite real 3D content. AI continues to be plagued by privacy and deepfake concerns. If AI can generate convincing 3D spaces from single photos, what happens to privacy? What happens when someone can recreate your living room, your office, your private spaces from a single social media photo? In that case, we are potentially looking at spatial deepfakes. SFMs need to offer better UX for faster adoption. Making 3D interfaces that are actually better than 2D ones is incredibly hard. There's a reason most VR experiences still rely heavily on flat menu systems. Just because we can make something 3D doesn't mean we should. SFMs or LWMs are at very early stages of development, which means that different companies are developing different approaches to spatial AI. Without standards, We could end up with a fragmented ecosystem where content created for one platform doesn't work on another. And there's always the hype cycle risk that technology is impressive, but it's still early. Marketers who jump into early might get burned if the technology doesn't mature as quickly as promised. All that we know about SFMs clearly means that there is some time before it becomes relevant to marketers. So, do we hear the excitement balloon pop? No. SFMs or LWMs are going to create and find their own space for people to immerse in, which means there will be new opportunities for immersive marketing. Until then, I think there are a few things that marketers can do today to be ready to jump on the SFM bandwagon. Even if you can't use these tools yet, start thinking spatially about your content. Take more comprehensive photos of your products, spaces, and experiences. When SFMs become accessible, you'll want good source material. Now is also the good time to relook at your content and ask how would it work in a 3D space. Focus on storytelling if you're not already. Visualize how the beginning, middle, and end would look in a 3D space when the users can explore in any direction. You don't need to wait for the AI revolution. Understanding spatial content creation now will give you a huge advantage when AI makes it easier. Start playing with tools like Sketchfab or smartphone LiDAR scanning. Stay updated with latest news around SFMs. Join waitlists or sign up for newsletters. Look at how brands are already marketing in spatial environments like Fortnite or Minecraft. These platforms are early indicators of how spatial marketing might work. Think from your customer's perspective. Look for signals in your lookalike audiences or GA4 cohorts that might indicate their appetite for immersive experiences. If you find them, start allocating budget and building cross functional teams consisting of marketers, designers, and technical pros. It's important to keep an eye on changes in preferences of your target audience and plan for the long term. I find SFMs to be truly cool. I love this kind of bleeding tech because it makes me look forward to the times to come. But I think it's equally important to be practical. We have seen a lot of quote unquote revolutionary tech fizzle out after the initial hype. The key is to stay curious, start preparing, but not bet the farm on any single approach. The brands and marketers who succeed with spatial AI will be the ones who focus on solving real problems, not just creating cool tech demos. It's not about asking how to turn something into a 3D experience. It's about thinking how can spatial understanding make the brand experience genuinely better for the customers. That's our show for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on spatial AI and how you think it might impact your industry. Make sure you subscribe and share your thoughts on your social media platform of choice. I'll talk to you in the next one.